All right, so welcome to another deep dive. This one you requested. We're going to be talking about Gen Z and how they're kind of like shaking things up at work,
Yeah.
especially in places that are changing really fast,
Yeah.
economically speaking, like China and Taiwan.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch of reports on global workforce trends,
Mm-hmm.
and then also like specifically stuff about Gen Z in China and Taiwan.
Right.
So we're going to see if they really are like these entitled snowflakes or, is there something else going on?
Well, it's interesting. We're not just talking about like Gen Z per se,
Mm-hmm.
but kind of like the whole nature of work is changing. The World Economic Forum, they're predicting that by 2025, AI is going to be displacing like 75 million jobs.
Wow.
But at the same time, it's creating 133 million new ones.
Huh. So like, it's not just the jobs are disappearing. It's like they're changing.
Exactly. It's a huge shift.
Yeah. So what does that even look like in different industries?
Well, we're talking like a net gain of 58 million jobs. But the types of jobs are changing. We're looking at things like healthcare,
Right.
education, green energy, all these sectors where AI is going to create a huge demand.
Mm-hmm.
But then those traditional manufacturing, retail,
Yeah.
even like the office jobs,
Yeah.
like automation is coming for those.
Right. So this is all happening at the same time that Gen Z is coming into the workforce.
Exactly.
But you hear all this stuff about young people in China wanting to lie flat.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like a real trend, or is that just like hype?
Yes.
What's the deal with that?
There was a report that came out from 104 Workforce recently.
Yeah.
And they said over 70% of Taiwanese workers, they think that the current job market is like not friendly
Oh, wow.
to young people. They talk about inflation,
Yeah.
wages being too low.
Right.
And also, what they're learning in school not really matching up with what employers want.
So it sounds like it's more than just being lazy, right?
Absolutely. It's like they're nervous about money.
It's real economic anxiety.
Yeah.
And this isn't, like Gen Z specific. I mean, think about it.
Right.
Millennials came into the workforce, during the financial crisis back in 2008.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And now Gen Z is dealing with, everything after COVID. It's like, it's a tough time to start a career.
Totally. Yeah. So maybe lying flat is more about like the system just feels messed up.
Yeah.
Not that they don't want to work, which kind of reminds me of this like exquisite poverty thing.
Right.
Where it's like they're all stressed about money, but then they're also spending on experiences and stuff like travel and nice food.
Right. Exactly.
It seems contradictory.
It is. It's a real paradox, especially in these fast-growing economies like China. You see it.
Mm-hmm.
There's this tension between like all this potential they see around them.
Right.
But also like the reality is that it's super competitive and the future's kind of scary.
Right. So it's like, I might never be able to buy a house.
But I'm going to enjoy life now.
Exactly.
So is that like a coping mechanism, or is that them like rejecting how older generations think?
It's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is like this tension, aspirations, and, feeling constrained, it's not just one culture.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
It's global, but it plays out differently.
So speaking of different cultures, I'm curious, does any of the research show like big differences in what Eastern and Western cultures value at work?
There was this study comparing British and Chinese engineers.
Okay.
And they found that a whopping 78% of the Chinese engineers said salary and job security were their top priorities.
Wow.
But only 42% of the Brits said the same thing.
Oh.
So, that's a big difference. And it probably comes down to like wanting to move up, not just for themselves, but for their families too.
Right. Generational mobility.
Exactly.
So even though Gen Z like is this global thing, culture still matters, huh?
Wow.
But like, I wonder, do both groups value things like being independent or working together?
Oh, they do. Both of them value those things.
Yeah.
But it's more about how those values play out.
Right.
Like in China, you have this concept of guangxi, which is all about relationships to help your career.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the British engineers were like all about teamwork for a harmonious work environment.
So it's not like one's right and one's wrong. It's just different.
Exactly. Nuances.
Yeah.
Like you could be a total digital native in Taiwan,
Right.
but still like not be into remote work.
Yeah.
Because there's this expectation to be in the office.
That's interesting.
Presenteeism, they call it.
Yeah.
It's still a big deal in lots of Asian countries.
Okay. So
Yeah.
definitely more complicated than just putting a label on a whole generation, right?
Absolutely.
But one thing that keeps coming up is like Gen Z wants more than just a paycheck.
Yeah.
They're all about side hustles, the creator economy, all that. Why do you think that is?
Well, the CEO of Partapost, it's a platform for brands and influencers, he had this really interesting take.
Okay.
He basically said, it's not that they're lazy, it's that they want feedback fast, like know they're achieving something. And side hustles give you that. Like
Yeah.
you see the results right away.
Yeah.
It's harder to get that in a regular job.
So is that because the system's like messed up and doesn't give them enough to feel good about?
Maybe.
Or is it just that they're like little entrepreneurs?
Could be.
And this goes along with like all those digital nomads too, right?
Yeah.
More options if you don't like the normal career stuff.
It makes you wonder what work's going to be like in the future.
Yeah.
Are side hustles just like a step to something bigger?
Right.
Or a sign that the job market's failing?
Interesting. And, they call this the dopamine generation.
Right.
Do you think, like, always needing that stimulation, that achievement, does that actually make them happier? Or is it just a different kind of burnout?
That's a good question. We should definitely dig into that later in our deep dive.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
But let's get practical for a sec.
Okay.
With all this, like, complicated stuff, what can companies actually do to get Gen Z to work for them and stay?
There are some really cool things happening out there.
Okay.
Like in Vietnam, some companies are linking how well employees do to like how much they help the community.
Huh.
So it taps into that whole purpose thing.
Right.
And in Singapore, you have banks using like blockchain tech
Wow.
for their like employee recognition system. So it gives people instant feedback.
Instant feedback. Oh,
rewards,
Yeah.
which Gen Z loves.
Yeah.
That instant gratification.
Yeah. So it's not about, like, making them fit the old way of doing things.
Well, no.
It's about adapting. Right?
Adapting.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. What else are you seeing?
Flexibility is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Recognizing that Gen Z values their time, their personal time, that's important.
Yeah.
But it's got to be balanced
Right.
with clear expectations about performance. Like, the Partapost CEO, the one we were talking about,
Yeah.
he lets his employees watch NBA games
Wait, seriously? Like during the workday?
during the workday, as long as they get their work done.
Whoa.
It's about trust and accountability.
Okay. That's pretty radical, but maybe that's like a peek into what work could be like in the future.
Maybe. It really challenges, what we think a workplace should be.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing everywhere. Like
Right.
work, success, even happiness.
Yeah.
We're redefining all of it.
That's a good point.
It's not just a generational thing. It's like society's changing.
That's true.
Yeah.
That makes me think, what does all this mean for the future of work?
Yeah, exactly. How do we create jobs, organizations?
Right.
They're both productive, but also make people feel good.
Yeah. That's the big question. But before we jump into that, let's take a minute.
Okay.
What stood out to you so far in our deep dive?
Yeah. What's resonated?
Yeah. What's got you thinking? We'll pick up the conversation from there. So we've been like really digging into how work values are changing, especially for Gen Z.
Yeah.
But what does that even mean for the future of work itself?
Yeah.
Like, how do we make jobs, organizations, all that
Right.
both, productive, but also make people feel good?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And it does feel like the old ways, they're not really working anymore.
Yeah.
Like that whole 9 to 5 climb the ladder thing.
Right.
It's not doing it for a lot of people,
Especially younger folks.
especially younger people.
Yeah. So what are the alternatives?
Yeah, what else is there?
Like, are there any models that seem like, oh, this could work?
We're kind of in this like experimental phase, which is cool.
Right?
Some companies are like all about flexibility.
Okay.
Set your own hours, work from anywhere.
Yeah.
Others are super focused on purpose.
Okay.
Like, your work makes the world better.
Right. So you feel good about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make you feel good.
That makes sense.
And then you've got the whole like gig economy explosion.
Yeah. All the freelancers.
Tons of people want to be their own boss, work on stuff they're passionate about. What about you?
Mm-hmm.
Ever thought about freelancing or a side hustle or anything like that?
There are definitely things about it that sound like kind of cool,
Yeah.
but I don't know. That lack of stability is scary.
Yeah, I get it.
No guaranteed income, no benefits.
It's risky.
It feels risky.
Yeah, and that's something that, policymakers are like really wrestling with.
Right.
How do you create like a safety net
Right.
for people who are choosing these new ways of working?
Yeah.
How do you make sure they have, healthcare, retirement stuff,
Yeah.
all those things that used to come with a regular job.
So we need a whole new rule book.
A new social contract.
Yeah, for like the 21st century.
Exactly. We've got to rethink how we support like work and well-being.
That's a huge thing to rethink.
It is.
Are there any like actual ideas out there for how to do that?
There are some interesting ones floating around.
Right.
One that people keep talking about is universal basic income.
UBI.
Yeah, UBI.
That sounds pretty radical.
That's a big idea.
Is it even like possible?
Well, there have been some pilot programs, in different places.
Okay.
And some of the results are promising. Like Finland, they tried it out a few years ago.
Yeah.
And they found that it actually made people happier overall.
Wow.
And it even like boosted entrepreneurship.
That's interesting.
It seems kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah, it does.
But, when you reduce financial stress, people are more willing to take risks.
Right. Like, okay, I could try starting my own thing.
Exactly.
If it doesn't work out, I'm not like totally screwed.
Exactly. So it's not just about giving people money. It's about, giving them the power to like go for their goal.
Contribute in new ways.
Contribute, yeah. It makes you wonder, though, could this work on a global scale?
That's the question.
That's a big question. It's complicated. Lots to think about.
Yeah.
But even if, UBI doesn't become like the norm everywhere,
Right.
it does seem like the future of work is all about being more flexible, more personalized.
Right. So it's not like you have this one job for your whole life. It's
Yeah.
more like you have lots of different things you do.
Portfolio career.
Yeah, that's the word. You've got to have lots of different skills.
You got to be adaptable.
Yeah. And tech's going to play a huge role in all this, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. AI, automation, it's going to keep shaking things up.
Yeah.
Creating new opportunities, getting rid of old ones. The key is like, how do we use this tech
Right.
to make us better, not replace us altogether?
That's a really good point. I feel like there's a lot of fear around AI, like, oh, the robots are taking over.
Right.
But it sounds like it could be a good thing
It could be,
if we do it right.
if we're smart about it.
Yeah.
Imagine like AI doing all the boring, repetitive stuff.
Yep.
So we can focus on creative problem solving, innovation, connecting with other humans in ways that AI can't.
It actually sounds kind of nice.
It does, doesn't it?
But how do we, like, prepare for this crazy future?
Yeah, how do we get ready?
What skills do we need?
Well, on the technical side, obviously, understanding AI,
Yeah, being tech savvy.
being able to work with data, all that's going to be huge.
Right.
But we can't forget about the human stuff, too.
Yeah.
Communication, collaboration, being able to think critically,
Creativity.
creativity, all that good stuff. Robots can't do that.
Yeah, it's not just about being, like, a tech genius.
Nope.
You've got to be a well-rounded human.
You got to be able to adapt, work with others,
Yeah.
think outside the box. And those are the skills that are, like, super valuable now.
Yeah.
And they're just going to get more important as things change faster and faster.
That's a good point. Man, this has been like a whirlwind tour of the future of work.
It has.
It's a lot to take in, but it's also kind of exciting to think about,
Yeah.
It feels like we're on the edge of something big.
It does feel like a big shift is happening. Like, society's transforming.
Yeah.
And the coolest part is we get to be a part of it.
We do.
What we do today is going to shape what work looks like tomorrow. It's like a little scary,
Yeah.
but also kind of empowering, don't you think?
Totally. It reminds you that you're not just along for the ride.
Right.
You're actually making choices that matter.
You're creating the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, where do you even start?
Where do you begin?
What can we actually do to get ready and make sure it's a good future?
Well, one thing we can all do is like never stop learning.
Yeah.
Whether it's taking online courses, going to workshops,
Right.
or just reading books and articles about stuff that interests you, we've got to keep expanding our knowledge, our skills.
Yeah. Like the world's not going to wait for us to catch up.
Nope, it keeps moving.
That's something I'm working on for sure.
Good. It's important.
Always got to be learning new stuff.
Another big thing is building those relationships.
Yeah.
Networks, connecting with people. Because the future of work is all about collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
It's about sharing ideas, supporting each other,
Working together.
working together.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it seems like Gen Z is already pretty good at that, right?
They are
Like they're all about building communities online and stuff.
online tribes.
Yeah.
Maybe we can learn a thing or two from them.
Yeah. Maybe we can.
And lastly, we've got to be willing to, speak up,
Okay.
advocate for change.
Ah,
Challenge those old policies and systems.
Right, the stuff that's not working anymore.
Exactly. Push for a future of work that works for everyone.
Yeah.
Use your voice, say what you believe in, and try to create a world of work that's fair.
More fulfilling.
More fulfilling, yeah.
That's a powerful message. So it sounds like it comes down to like leveling up your skills, connecting with people, and speaking your mind.
That's it.
Simple but powerful.
And remember, the future isn't just something that happens to you.
We make it together.
Yeah, I love that. It's like a reminder that you have power.
You do.
You can make a difference.
We all can.
And it's kind of exciting to think, like, what could we do if we all work together?
What could we achieve? That's a good question to think about.
But before we go there,
Yeah.
I want to hear what's resonating with you.
What's standing out?
Yeah, what's got you curious or maybe changed your mind about something? When you were talking about, like, needing a new social contract,
Yeah.
it made me think about that exquisite poverty thing again.
Yeah.
What if it's not just them, like, coping?
Right.
What if it's actually, like, a totally different way of thinking about success? Like, maybe Gen Z is saying, it's not about stuff.
Yeah.
It's about experiences, purpose.
Well-being.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah. That's a really interesting connection. And it shows you, like, how those labels we use, for culture is generation.
Right.
They can be limiting. You can't just
Mhm.
assume everyone in that group thinks the same way. Exactly. There's so much variety,
Oh.
even within one generation.
Totally.
Different cultures, different families even.
Everyone's got their own values, their own priorities.
That's why these conversations are so important.
Yeah.
We get to explore all those differences,
Yeah.
challenge our own, like, assumptions about things.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that people are complex
Mhm.
and that all that diversity is what makes things interesting.
This deep dive has definitely given me a lot to think about.
Me too.
It's been, like, super fascinating to look at all these trends.
Yeah, they're all connected too. It's really complex.
And it's all, like, changing the future of work.
Yeah.
So to sum it all up for our listener,
Mm-hmm.
I think what we've learned here is that work is changing in a big way.
It is.
And Gen Z, they're leading the charge.
Yeah, definitely shaking things up.
What they value, what they expect, it's changing how we think about careers, success.
Everything.
Yeah, everything.
And it's not just about them either. It's about all of us,
That's true.
We're all figuring this out together.
Yeah.
How to find meaning in our work, have a life outside of work,
Right.
keep up with all the changes happening.
I think the biggest thing is just to be curious.
Yeah.
Never stop learning.
Always be open to new things.
Because the future, we don't know what it holds.
Nope.
But that's also what makes it exciting, right?
Exactly. Embrace the change.
Mm-hmm.
Challenge the status quo.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to, decide what success means for you.
Love that.
The future of work isn't set in stone.
It's not.
It's something we're creating together
Yeah.
by the choices we make, what we do.
Being open to the unknown.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it. Thanks so much for sharing all your insights with us.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. This has been a great conversation.
It really has.
Yeah.
And to our listener, we hope this deep dive has given you some things to think about.
Keep exploring.
Keep asking questions.
And keep shaping the future of work that you want to see.
Until next time.